Om Bhadram Karneभिः शृणुयाम देवाः
Om
Bhadram Karneभिः शृणुयाम देवाः
Bhadram Pashyemakshaभिर्यजत्राः
Bhadram Pashyemakshaभिर्यजत्राः
स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः So we were looking at the second Mundaka, which we finished last class. So now the third Mundaka is starting. So in this Mundaka again Brahman is going to be presented from a different standpoint, let us say, in a different manner. And why it is being presented again and again by Shruti? There can be a question. So we understand that Brahman being a subtle subject matter, correct? It has to be presented again and again. So there is no Punarukti dosha in Vedanta. That means Punarukti dosha means you are telling the same thing again. So there is no Punarukti dosha in Vedanta. The same subject matter is presented again and again, maybe using different methodologies, you can say, different analogies from a different standpoint, like that. The other important thing is, so in the previous two Mundakas, Brahman, that is Paravidya, correct, was presented. Because initially in the Upanishad, when the Guru was asked the question, okay, that knowing which I want to know everything else, is there anything like that? Okay, knowing which everything else also is as well known. That is the question. For that the Guru does not answer directly. Okay. So the Guru first says that there are two types of Vidya. Ve Vidye Veditavye, like that the Upanishad starts. And then the Paravidya and Aparavidya, like that knowledge itself is categorized. And Paravidya is then talked about as Yaya Tad Aksharam Adhigamyate. Okay. So by which this Aksharam Brahma is known, that alone is Paravidya. So even there again a question arises. What is that? Because in the Aparavidya, when it is characterizing and talking about different knowledge, Upanishad includes all the Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, all these Vedas are also talked about as Aparavidya. Okay. So then the question arises, then what about these Upanishads? Upanishads themselves are part of the Veda only. Okay. So then how can you say that the Veda is Aparavidya? So for that again Shankara raises this question. I think we discussed this if you remember. The important point here is the words themselves do not constitute Paravidya. Okay. So the Shabda Rashi means what? The group of words you can say. So they do not constitute the Paravidya. It becomes Paravidya only when a person, a mumukshu, correct, one who has mumukshutvam and also other qualifications. So typically for being a student of Vedanta, one is expected to have certain qualifications. So one who has such qualifications like Vairagya, Samadama, so that means what? A certain disposition of one's mind. Okay. One who has a calm mind, one who already has a certain intellectual infrastructure, okay, and an emotional infrastructure also properly without any problems. Okay. So one who has Samskritam Manaha, you can say, correct? The mind is matured enough. Such a person with mumukshutvam is very important. If you just read Vedanta for getting a PhD, then your goal itself was to get PhD, not moksha. Understand that. So you may very well get your PhD. That should not be a problem. But if you study Vedanta, looking upon Vedanta as a pramana and with mumukshutvam and other important qualifications like Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhamadi, Shatka Sampattihi, all these things being there along with mumukshutvam, then only the Paravidya takes place. Correct? Paravidya is that vritti which takes place in your mind, by which you know this Brahman. Yaya tad aksharam adhigamyate. That is Paravidya. So that Paravidya was the subject matter of the first two Mundaka. Okay. So Brahman itself was shown to us as the cause of everything. So by showing Brahman as the cause of everything, what the Shruti finally reveals is that everything else is mithya, because everything being karya, they all depend on the karana. The effect depends for its very existence on the cause. Like a pot depends on the clay, correct? Like a chain depends on the gold. Like a nail cutter depends on the whatever metal it is made of, okay, steel or iron. So like this, the effect for its very existence depends on the cause. That means it does not have any independent existence. So that which does not exist independently is called as mithya. It is not satyam, at least, correct? It is asat. And it is called mithya. Okay. And that means what? Brahman alone is satyam, because Brahman is the cause of everything. Whatever you know, whatever you don't know, whatever you are able to cognize, all that you know as this is Brahman. Okay. Yet idam sarvam Brahma. Brahma eva idam amritam. That's what the last mantra also we saw, correct? Brahma eva idam amritam purastat Brahma paschat Brahma dakshinataha cha uttarena adascha urdhvam cha prasritam Brahma eva idam vishwam idam. So the entire universe is nothing but Brahman. So that means all these things become mithya. Brahman alone exists really, that is Satyam. And by knowing that Satya Vastu, it is as good as knowing everything. Okay, the original question also is answered. So this is the subject matter of the first two Mundaka, that revealing this Brahman as the cause of everything, and then showing everything as mithya, and thereby knowing this Satyam Brahma, you as well know everything else which is mithya, because Satyam Brahma alone counts. The other things do not count. Okay, in our mathematics, we have a peculiar mathematics. What is this mathematics? Okay, so that is shown even in our Shakti mantra, correct? Purnam Adaha. So Purnam means, let us call it whole, okay, wholeness. So that is whole. That means here what? Brahman. Brahman without this world, okay, let us say. Without this world, this manifest world, whatever was there originally is Brahman. Brahman alone is. That Brahman is whole. It doesn't lack anything. Purnam Brahma. Purnam Adaha. Then what about this world? This world also is same Brahman. Purnam Idam. It is the same Brahman, whole. This world also is whole because it is also Brahman. Purna Purna Mudachyate. So from that Purnam, which was the Brahman without the manifest world, Brahman with manifest world has come. Correct? So Purna Purnam Mudachyate. So from that whole, this whole has come. So if I translate this in English, that is whole, this is whole, from that whole, this whole has come about. Okay. So if you simply state it like this in English, nobody will understand anything, I think. It will sound funny also. But what we have to understand is that being Purnam, the Brahman is always Purnam. It was already Purnam. Then this world got manifest. Then also it is Purnam Brahma only. Like gold was there. And from that gold, in whichever form it was, let us say we have made a chain out of that gold. Still the same gold is there, correct? The gold did not lose anything, assuming that there was no making losses. See, in India, whenever you go to buy gold, or anywhere else also, I think they charge this making losses also they will charge. Okay. And even there they will give you some discount and all that. They will say normally we charge 8% loss, but now if you buy, we will give you 4%, or we consider 0% loss and all that, whatever. So in this case, let us assume there was no making loss. The same gold, you were able to make it as a chain. Then did that gold vanish anywhere? Did the gold lose its nature? Means no. The same gold is still there, correct? Gold was there, gold is there. But it is now in the form of chain. The form, the name and form has manifest. Okay. Then what happens? Again you have some requirement. Then you see some advertisement, Manapuram gold loan or something. So many advertisements are there nowadays. So you go and you pledge your gold. Now for you it is a chain, correct? You may even have some emotional attachment with that. But for the whoever is the guy who is giving you the gold loan, he is a jnani. Why? For him your name and form has no meaning. Understand that you may give him a chain, a bangle, whatever it is, earring. For him, everything is gold. That's all. He will take everything, put it in the balance, and he will tell you, okay, so many grams. So for that person, the names and forms do not have any meaning. For Jnani also, the name and form has no meaning, correct? Only the substance, which is Brahman, is important. Like that, the gold loan fellow also looks at it only as gold. Irrespective of the name and form, he will go by the weight of the gold and give you whatever you want, provided you have enough gold. So like that, gold was there, gold is there. Later on, let us say you are not able to take your gold back, means after some time what will happen? He may make it into another form or something. That means even after the chain becomes unmanifest, correct? The gold is again, let us say, they have put it into a furnace, okay, and it has melted. So molten gold again it will form into some other form. Then chain is gone. But even when the chain is gone, gold is still gold. So Purna Purna Mudachyate. So from that whole, this whole, which is Brahman in the form of the world, came. Okay. Purnasya Purname Vadhaya. So what if we remove this world again from that Brahman? So from that whole, if you remove this whole, what happens? Okay. Even then the same whole remains, correct? Purnameva avasishyate. The same Purnam Brahma alone is there. So even if this name and form goes, this world, whether you see it with a Jnana Chakshu, or let us say Pralaya itself happens and the whole world becomes unmanifest, whichever way it is still the same Brahman. Brahman eva avashishyate. Brahman alone is. Others really don't count. So that is the vision. That is what is taught to you as Paravidya. But what if some people are not able to understand this clearly? Okay, because everybody, in fact 99.9% of the people do not come to study Vedanta with all qualifications. Okay. So then what it becomes is, on one side you are studying Vedanta, okay, and then you are also developing the qualifications. You are trying to have a certain mental disposition. You are trying to gain emotional maturity so that you can focus on what is being taught. You are also trying to gain certain mastery over one's own likes and dislikes, raga dvesha, because that is very important. Why do we have to have mastery over one's own likes and dislikes? That is because likes and dislikes only reinforce the vision that you are an individual, you are Alpa Jiva. Because only the Alpa Jiva looks at oneself as a wanting person. The limited individual alone looks upon oneself as a wanting individual. Correct? As a wanting person. The limited individual looks upon oneself as a wanting person. Then you have likes and dislikes, because I want this, I don't want this, means what? That only implies that you are a limited individual. The very fact that you look upon yourself as a wanting person means what? That you look upon yourself as a limited being. And likes and dislikes only imply that. So as long as you entertain and take your likes and dislikes seriously, and you are governed by that, let us say, you are under the spell of your likes and dislikes, this teaching of Vedanta will not work for you. Why? Because Vedanta says you are the limitless. You are no more the wanting person. You are already Purnaha. You are the whole. You do not lack anything. You are not the wanting person. That is the teaching. Now for this teaching to make any sense, you should have a certain mastery over your likes and dislikes, because by their very nature, likes and dislikes only reinforce the wrong notion that you are a limited individual, correct? That is the problem. So that is why you are asked to do karma with a certain changed attitude, because as a mumukshu, normal people are also doing karma, but they are doing their karma only to fulfill their likes and dislikes, thinking that by fulfilling their likes and dislikes they will be happy. Okay? But mumukshu knows very well that by fulfilling a simple like or dislike, by doing a finite karma and gaining a karma phala, which is also finite, I am not going to become happy forever. That much understanding has to be there for a student of Vedanta, for a mumukshu. So mumukshu understands that, but then there is a force of habit, correct? All these years and whatever janma, I don't know how many janma, we have been in a certain manner. So that force of habit has to be also taken into account, correct? It has to be neutralized. You have to transform yourself. It's not going to happen with just one insight. The insight has to be repeated. It's a process. So that is why a mumukshu has to do the karma. Whatever karma is there, you do. What is to be done has to be done. But you are doing that only as your duty. Okay? You do certain things knowing very well that the results of these are not going to make me completely satisfied. But you still do because that is the right thing to do. So now as a mumukshu, you are guided more by right and wrong rather than like and dislike. See, in our life, what is our problem? All problems are because if the like and right are in sync, correct? Whatever is to be done also is what you like, means there is no conflict. Your life is nice. But whatever you like is either illegal or immoral or calorific, somebody said. Okay. So then what do you do? It is a problem. There is a conflict, because there is a conflict between your raga dvesha and dharma and adharma, let us say, what is right and wrong in a particular situation. Now as a mumukshu, with the yoga buddhi, then you have to choose right and wrong over like and dislike. Now that gives you a certain mastery over your likes and dislikes. That makes you a mature person. And slowly the teaching is what? You are not a karta, you are not a bhokta, you are not the enjoyer, you are not the doer. The doership, the enjoyership itself is mithya. It comes along with the individual and goes along with the individual. Your individuality itself is mithya. It's there only in waking. You may have a different individuality in dream. In deep sleep there is no individuality, because the mind itself is not manifest. The mind becomes unmanifest in deep sleep. Atma alone is there, but it has nothing to reveal. because both the subject object, they all fold in sleep. So what do we understand from this? That all this karta bhokta itself is mithya. That is the teaching. So to appreciate that, you should have certain objectivity with reference to your own kartrutvam and bhoktritvam. That will come about only if you are having certain mastery over your likes and dislikes, even your emotional reactions and things like that. Because as individuals, all of us have our own background, our own childhood. One person's childhood is not the same as the other person. And we have picked up so many experiences right from our childhood. And many of those experiences may not have been pleasant for the child, understand. So the child undergoes certain experiences. Some of them are pleasant, loving, okay, making the child feel good about itself. But many other experiences are not very pleasant. It is showing the child in a bad light. And that too, some of the statements are coming from authority, people who are in authority, correct? Authority figures like parents, teachers. Whatever they say is the truth for the child. For the child, whatever their parents and teachers say, it goes right into its subconscious. And that will stay there. And if any hurt or pain is there, that will also go into the subconscious. Because the child does not have an evolved mind to process the pain, to process the hurt. So it just goes inside. And later on, even when you become physically an adult, emotionally, that child and its hurt do not go anywhere. It is still there. Understand that? So what do we do about that? Unless you process that and achieve a certain integration, the child has to be integrated with the adult. The adult has certain powers, consciously, free will, logical mind and all is with the adult. But the subconscious is more powerful for everybody, for most people. And subconscious is where all your hurt and pain and all the programming which you have undergone as a child is sitting. That will control you even as an adult much more than your free will. Understand that. That is why that part also has to be taken care of. And that is where sadhana is important. So Vedanta sadhana we talk about. So in that, again antaranga sadhana is talked about. Then bahiranga sadhana, antaranga, bahiranga. So again, even in this Upanishad, the Upanishad revealed the nature of Brahman to us. But it did one more thing also, correct? If you remember, in this last second Mundaka only, it talked about this Om meditation, correct? So Om is presented as Bo. Pranava is the Dhanuhu, correct? And then the arrow is the Jiva. And Brahman is the Lakshya. Okay, the arrow is nothing but the Jiva with the mind, the Antakarana which is qualified. And Brahman is the Lakshya. So like this Upasana you can say, but Upasana means it becomes Manasam Karma. So here we don't have to call this an Upasana, because normally Upasana as Manasam Karma also is done to get some Punya to go to some Loka. So even in the Purva Bhaga, Karma is talked about, then Upasana also is talked about. And in some cases you have to do certain karma, like different yajna and homa. And you have to do upasana also. And the upasana phala is supposed to be more than just doing karma. Karma and upasana together is supposed to produce more punya, so that you can go to better loka and all that. So here again, this Om meditation, dhyana or nididhyasanam we have to say in the context of Vedanta study, that was pointed out as an antaranga sadhana. Okay. So for a uttama adhikari, teaching, listening to the teaching itself should be good enough to understand one's nature and attain moksha. Okay, knowledge itself is moksha. There is no gap between knowledge and freedom. Knowing your true nature as the limitless makes you free, free from all wants, free from being a doer and an enjoyer. So that is the freedom, moksha we are talking about. And your real nature is beyond space and time. So you are not anymore a mortal who is only there in some particular body, correct? So that is the vision. If you are able to understand that by listening to Vedanta, well and good. But even after listening to that, what is the tendency? The tendency is to again go back. After the class is over, during the class everything is nice. Okay? Vedanta classes are good to enjoy. Because the Guru is saying you are the limitless, you are not the wanting person, you are Ananda. It's nice to hear. Then what happens? Okay, after the class is over, then the other things overpower you. Whatever is your habitual tendency overpowers the pramana vyapara which took place in the class, the insights which you gained in the class. So that is why certain sadhana is prescribed. Not everybody is a uttama adhikari. So you have to do sadhana. So here some people will ask, then why should we do all this sadhana? Why should we study Vedanta? Did Ramana Maharishi study Vedanta and all that? So one thing all of you should be clear. Okay? Do not quote an exception to a rule and say that the rule is not valid and all that. Okay, so we generally talk about what has to be done. And that is what is talked about here. So you know who you are. So accordingly, wherever you have to take care, whatever issues with oneself, we all know that. So no need to, again, no need to look upon oneself as though like you will not be able to get certain thing and all that. So you don't have to have any inferiority complex. Neither you need to have any superiority complex or anything. No need to have any complex. We all have a certain life, a certain background, for which again we have to only base it on our own past karma, let us say. So as an individual, whatever background I have is due to whatever karma, and that is why I have this life. But in that I have the good fortune of getting exposed to this teaching. And wherever I am, from there I do my sadhana, whatever is required for me to take care of my own maturity. Whatever qualifications I require to gain this knowledge, I will have to make effort in gaining that. So that is where one sadhana has to be, one has to focus there. And that antaranga sadhana was talked about. In the third Mundaka, bahiranga sadhana also will be talked about. Okay. So in fact, in Mundaka-Upanishad only, what is there is in India's slogan or whatever, correct? So Indian government also, what is it that it has? It says Satyameva Jayate, correct? So where does this Satyameva Jayate come from? Satyameva Jayate is from Mundaka-Upanishad. Is that clear? So that will also come later in the third Mundaka. So even leading a life of Satyam, truthfulness, all these things are also pointed out. Certain values are pointed out. Bahiranga Sadhana also is pointed out in this Mundaka. So Antaranga Sadhana was already pointed out when the Om based Dhyana was pointed out. That was for gaining a certain Antakarana Naischalya, let us say, to be established in this knowledge firmly. That Antaranga Sadhana was pointed out. Now, what if that also is not good enough? In certain people or most people really require some more certain lifestyle changes, lot of attitudinal changes even before Vedanta becomes useful. So all those things are also normally pointed out. Okay, that is what we are going to see here. And here if you see the first mantra of this third Mundaka is like a sutra, okay, and all the other later on mantras are like an elaborate commentary on this, okay. So again here what happens is this Upanishad is revealing this Brahman from a different standpoint, I told you. So this entire Jagat is Brahman, but the Jiva who is looking at this Jagat also is Brahman, correct? In fact, that is the difficult part for many people to understand. When we say all that is here is Brahman, you have to include yourself, your own individuality, your own body, mind, sense complex. But that people miss. So, but that is what is going to be pointed out here again. So both the knower and the known are Brahman, correct? So that has to be made clear again and again. That is what is going to be talked about. Okay. So, but until this knowledge becomes clear, until you understand that all that is here is Brahman, including the knower and the known, you are an individual only, correct? You are a separate entity. And if you are still an individual, then you are subjected to punya papa, karma, correct? You have to experience pleasant and unpleasant situation. So according to our Shastra, why do we undergo pleasant and unpleasant situation? That is because of your own past karma, correct? So that's why it is called adrishtam phalam. Every action you do gives you a drishta phala and adrishta phala also, depending on what you did is right or wrong. So the drishta phala anyway you are going to enjoy immediately, but adrishta phala is accruing in your account as punya or papa. If you did something right, you gain punya. If you did something wrong, you have papa. And then what happens to this punya and papa? They fructify later on as pleasant or unpleasant experience. So this punya papa is there as long as you take yourself as an individual. You have to undergo the effects of this punya and papa. That's why karma itself in some places is called as amrita. Why? Because avashyam bhavitva. As long as you are an individual, you have to undergo the karma phala. Whatever karma you have accumulated, it will fructify now or later. and the one who is undergoing this is the samsari, correct? Is the jiva, the individual. So then what should happen? The jiva should become Brahman. Can jiva become the Brahman? The jiva need not become Brahman. Understand that. The jiva cannot become the Brahman. Jiva is limited. The limited cannot become the limitless. Then what should we do? You don't have to become. You are already the limitless. That is the teaching. Okay. So if you understand your jivatva itself is not real, correct? Then what is there is nothing but Brahman. Brahman alone is there as yourself, the Atma. So that is what is talked about here. So the jiva itself is talked about as the Jagat Karanam Brahma. Jagat Karanam Brahma is Isvara for us. Okay. When you look upon Brahman as the cause of everything, that is what we say is Isvaraha, the Jagat Karanam. So here a beautiful imagery of two birds is presented in the first mantra, and they are sitting in a tree. Okay, the tree itself is an imagery for samsara we have to take. Okay, so two birds are sitting on a tree. The tree is samsara, and again, why the tree is samsara? Because it is something which can be cut, correct, which can be uprooted if required. So similarly, the samsara also can be removed, it can be uprooted, it can be cut. But to remove this samsara, you require what? Knowledge. That's what was talked about already, correct? Vidyate hridaya granthi. So by this Atma Jnanam, all this chidyante sarva samsayaha. So this Atma Jnana only is there to remove this samsara. So anyway, the tree is the samsara. Okay. And again, this samsara, there are two birds sitting there, and one bird goes around, flying around and gathering the fruits of this tree, which are karma phala, correct? And it is trying to enjoy that fruit also. So that means that is the jiva, the individual. The individual is the doer as well as the enjoyer, karta bhokta. So one bird is the jiva bird or the individual bird. The other bird does not do anything. It is just witnessing. Okay, it is just blessing this jiva bird by lighting up all its experiences. It is just a witness. It just lends its existence and awareness to the other bird, nothing else. And that bird is the Isvara. Again, the jiva bird cannot do anything without the presence of the other bird. So it has to come back to the tree again and again. So then what is the teaching here? The jiva bird which goes around fluttering here and there has to recognize that in reality I am the one who is watching. That is the real my nature, this witness, this other bird is my real nature. Then it will become free from sorrow, free from this samsara. So that is the main thing we have to understand. So similarly, in your own case, let us take our own upadhi. There we have a certain body, mind, sense complex. In that there are two things, as though two things are there. One is the individual jiva who is the karta bhokta, who is going about doing things, trying to gain karma phala. and enjoy the karma phala. Sometimes the karma phala is good, correct? It is pleasant. Other times the karma phala is bitter, unpleasant experience. So some fruits are sweet, some fruits are bitter, or even like worse than that. Okay. Sometimes even bitter is okay. But what if it is rotten? So anyway, so there are these two people are there as though in your own body, mind, sense complex. One is the karta bhokta, other is the sakshi, the witness. And all our problems are because we take ourselves as the karta bhokta. And now what does the shastra tell you? The shastra tells you that if you want to get rid of this samsara, recognize that you are not this karta bhokta jiva who is going after all this karma phala, but you are just the witness. You are the one who is giving this existence and awareness to all the jivas. Okay, and that is, then once you recognize that, you are free. Okay, so this non-difference between the jiva and Isvara, it was already pointed out before also. That is again pointed out here using a different imagery. That's what we have to understand. So the one non-dual Atma, Brahman, is presented as two different birds here. One is the witnessing bird, another is the one which is going around enjoying the fruits of the tree, which is samsara. And this again is shown so that you understand that we have to account for the jiva, correct, the individual. So let us just see this mantra here. Dva suparna sayuja sakhaya.
Dva suparna sayuja sakaya.
Samanam vriksham parishasvajate.
Samanam vriksham parishasvajate.
Anya pippalam swadvati.
Tayoranyah pippalam swadvati.
Ashnan anyaha abhichakashiti. Anashnan anyaha abhichakashiti. So this is the mantra here. Dva suparna, two birds. Okay, parna means wings. So birds with wings. Suparna means one who has nice, beautiful wings. Okay, Sushtu parna yasya. So dva suparna, sayuja. Sayuja means what? They are together always. They are united. Okay, yuj means to be united, and sayuja means they are united always. So that means without the witnessing bird, the other bird cannot be there. That is what is pointed out here. Understand that the Chaitanyam has to be there to provide the existence and awareness. Then only the other bird, which is the jiva, the individual, can go around enjoying the fruits of the samsara tree. That's why the sayuja is a very important word here. They are together always. Sakhaya. Sakhaya means what? They are again enjoying together the same consciousness. Okay. So dva suparna sayuja sakhaya samanam vriksham parishas swajate. So they are in the same tree, samanam vriksham, and they are sitting in the same tree. They are perched in the same tree. So parishas swajate means they are perched. Samanam vriksham parishas swajate means they are sitting in the same tree. They are perched in the same tree. tayoho, anyaha. Okay. Pippalam swadu atti means what? So here out of the two, one. Tayoho anyaha means one of the two. Pippalam swadu atti means what? Pippalam here means the results of action, the fruits. Okay. And swadu atti means what? Atti means to experience, to eat here, really to experience. And swadu means again avidly. Okay. So one of them is experiencing the karma phala avidly. That is the meaning of this. But what about the other? Anyaha anashnan abhichakashiti. Anashnan means what? Without experiencing, without eating. One bird is going around eating the fruits very enthusiastically, avidly. But what about the other? Other also is there together only, correct? They are Sayuja and Sakhaya. But the other does not experience anything. It does not go after the fruits. Neither does it eat, nor does it do anything else. But what does it do? Abhichakashiti. It goes on witnessing. It is the witness. So this is the beautiful imagery given here by the Shastra. And so we will look at this further in the next class. We will close it here. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam.
Purnat Purnamudachyate.
Purnat Purnamudachyate.
Purnasya Purnamadaya.
Purnasya Purnamadaya.
Purnameva Vasishyate.
Purnameva Vasishyate.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Harihi Om.
Harihi Om.